Okay, so starting from this video, we are going to learn about React Router. So right now you can see that there is just a page where I have just rendered a header component. So the header component is a plain simple component where simply a welcome thing is written. And apart from that, this small border thing that is mentioned here in the CSS of that header. So that is fine. But till now we have seen that, let's say here we have written something like, let's say h3 and hello there. But the point is that everything which we are writing, that is coming in just one page. Okay, in fact this is called single page application, but it does not mean that we cannot have multiple pages in single page application, which means that right now you'll see that, let's say some path 1, path 2, some whatever, anywhere you go, everywhere you just see this one page. So actually the whole content is just one plain HTML which is rendered from inside our project. So we already saw that this was the core skeleton where actually our React component, our React thing was going inside this root element. Okay, but as I said you earlier, that this does not mean that single page applications can't have multiple pages. It is called single page application for a reason, which I'll discuss in this video only. Actually, React Router is the software which can convert a single page application into something called routes, where multiple routes are there and they all will behave like separate pages, but actually there is just one page. We'll see how it works. In this video, we'll give you small just introduction to React Router. We'll see the basic syntax. In fact, this video itself will be sufficient to get started with React Router. But there will be a couple of more videos after this where we'll go somewhat more detailed and we'll see some advanced concepts in React Router. So starting with, what we are going to do, that we are going to install a package called React Router DOM. So npm I, we are going to install this package called React Router DOM. Okay, so let's install this. You'll see that right now in dependencies React Router DOM is not there, but now we can see that this React Router DOM is installed. Important thing is that you have to install anywhere. Right now, if you simply do install, or if you do at 6 or at latest, the latest, in all cases the latest version will be installed. If you have not already installed this package, then by default, if you install, then obviously the latest version 6 will be installed. This thing is important because this React Router has its syntax has changed somewhat significantly in version 6. So we'll be learning the latest version, and wherever possible I will try to show you some syntax from earlier version also, so that on the web, if you are reading somebody else's code and if you see some other slightly different syntax, then you'll be able to relate that, yeah, I can understand what they are trying to do, but it is older syntax. However, we will be using, and you are also encouraged to use the latest version only. Now we'll see that this React Router DOM, you can go inside this npm.js, and in npm.js you can search this package React Router DOM, and you will see that this React Router DOM has certain dependency. Two dependencies they are showing. One of the dependencies is React Router. So actually this React Router is the core of this React Router DOM. React Router DOM is again a wrapper on top of this React Router, and apart from what it does is basically it adds support for browser. Now you might be understanding that we are doing everything in browser only, right? But React Router is not specific to browser. In fact, there are other things like React Native or something. There also the same core is used, but this thing will be specific to browser. So if you directly install React Router DOM, then automatically this thing is installed, because as you can see that this is a dependency. In fact, you can see here also, if you do npm ls, then whatever package is installed, that will be shown. So you can see that React Router DOM is installed. However, if you simply write npm ls React Router, I have not directly installed React Router, a package named React Router, but then also you will see that this is also installed, and it is shown clearly that this thing is installed because you installed React Router DOM. So this is a dependency. This is a dependency of React Router DOM. Okay. Anyways, now we have installed this package. Now we can simply npm start and then we'll see that how to work with this package. So what happens is that once we have this package, then we have to do a little bit of setup. Okay, so right now you can see that the website is working fine, but we need to somehow define various routes. But before we can define various routes, what we have to do is that in the root component, so let's say this app is the first component, the root one is like just before that also index.js, because from index.js you can see that this app component is imported. Okay, so we have to do something, we have to wrap this whole thing around something called browser router, and that will add support for our React router. Okay, so for that what we are going to do is that we will import browser router from React router DOM. So React router DOM, from this we are going to import something called browser router. Okay, and this browser router we have to wrap around this. So you can see something like this, that we will be wrapping. So earlier only this thing was there, now we have wrapped this around another element, and that component is coming from React router DOM, which we just installed. So definitely this will not give us any error because we have just recently installed this package. That is fine. But now we have added support, but still nothing has changed, because we have just added support for React router, but we have not defined any routes, we have not refined any links to navigate anything. We'll start doing that now. So what we do is that generally this is like actually this browser router we do at the absolute root level, so wherever even the app component is rendered, right? But after that somewhat below anywhere, so let's say inside app, here we can define various routes. Okay, so what we can do is that let's keep header for now, but right now we are going to create component called routes. Now this routes component, as you can see that automatically it is imported from React router DOM. So from React router DOM we are importing this routes. Okay, that is the first thing. Inside that we are going to use another component called route. This is also provided inside. So route. So routes and route both are provided inside React router DOM only. Routes is the parent one. Inside that, which will be the collection of all the routes, inside that we will be rendering route. Now this is the place where we define various routes which are possible for our application. Okay, and that all paths, the routes will be written inside path prop passed to this component. Okay, now path, what can be path? The first is very much obvious, which is like simply slash. Slash means you can see that whatever, if you don't do anything, then the first route is slash. Okay, then we can have another route, let's say slash user, like that. Okay, so we'll see. Let's firstly handle only slash. So right now you can see that this thing is there, but after that we have to write that when slash is there, which means that when home page is there, then what do you want to show? Okay, so anything outside this routes. Okay, anything outside this routes, definitely that thing is already rendered, right? But here we are mentioning that what are the additional things for particular routes we want to show. So when slash is there, which means that when home page is there, then what do we want to show? So let's create a separate component called let's say home component. Okay, so inside components I can create a separate file called, let's say, home.js. Okay, in this home.js we can create simple function component, let's say home, and then we can export it from here. Okay, and there is a component, right, which means that it will get passed some props, and I don't know whether we will be able to use it or not. We will be using it or not, but for now let's simply render some basic things. So let's say I'm just rendering a p tag, okay, and which calls simply home page, nothing else. Okay, now let's save it, and after that let's use this component inside our app component. So firstly let's import it. So we will import this home, from our components slash home. Okay, now that we have this component, now we can use it here to say React Router DOM that when the route is slash, then what do we want to show. So right now this whole thing is blank, even if this is a home page, right? But we can say here something like element is equal to and then we have to create an element. How to create an element from a component? We simply use the JSX syntax like this, right? So this home is a component, but when we use it inside tags, then this is an element, and this element we are passing, and we are saying that when the path is slash, then use this component, which means that render this component, and that is what will happen. You can see here that when the path is slash, then this thing is rendered. This home page, whatever we wrote just now here, that thing is rendered. Now we have to pay attention that let's say slash user or something is there, right? Then you can see that it is React Router is giving warning also that no route matched for this location. Okay, you have not defined anything for slash user, that is just a warning. But on the UI also you can see that nothing is rendered. So you can clearly see that whatever the home component we defined, that only works for this slash route. Okay, so you can see that right now it is not working, it is just working for this thing. Okay, if you would have written, let's say here slash user, then what will happen is that on home page again nothing will be visible, because that component is not defined for home page. Okay, and again they are showing you warning that for slash location means home page location. You have not said that what to render, so they are not rendering anything. But now if you go to that route, then you can see that there this thing is visible. So it's pretty much clear right now that whatever the routes you define here, those are the routes which will be visible here. Okay, now so what essentially what we are going to do is that we will define separate routes, isn't it, for slash also, for slash user also. So we'll create a separate route for slash, separate route for slash user, and let's create a separate component for user. So let's just copy paste from here. So user.js, let's say. Okay, and let's copy paste from here, and let's say this is user. Okay, and just for simplicity, let's rename this component to user, otherwise it will work with any name, but anyways, and this user component we can import it here, right, isn't it? Instead of home we are importing now slash user. Okay, and then that user component is used here. Okay, so now you can see that when home page is there, then this thing is visible. When user is there, then this is user, this component is visible. And again, if you go to anything which is not defined, so let's say I just write anything XYZ or anything, then again it will say that no route is there defined. So there should be some default route also, which will come soon, but right now just these two routes are working. By the way, why it is red? It's simple. I think that somewhere we have defined that p tags should be in red. So if you write not inside p tag, then that will not be red. But anyways, here we are writing everything in p tag, and that's why that is coming red. Anyways, so this is done, right? Now small thing, small deviation with respect to React Router version 6. In React Router version 6, this routes component was added, right? Actually earlier versions did not have this routes. They had something called switch component. Okay, and then inside switch you used to define something like this. Okay, but right now this switch component is removed. So if somewhere on the internet you see that inside switch routes are written, then they are using the older version, right? In newer versions means React Router 6 onwards. 7 has not come, so right now also it is 6 is the latest. So from that onwards we have to use this routes thing. Okay, so that is fine. Now let's try to understand that right now we are showing both the routes manually, isn't it? So we have to go to user, then we have to go here and type user, isn't it? So that is not what we want. We can't we create some links where we simply click and go there? And we know how to create links, isn't it? We know that. So let's do one thing. Rather than having welcome here, just go to the header and we will add our links there. So inside this header, we will remove this welcome thing, and we can have a nav bar. This nav tag is HTML5 element, just to show to the browser that we are writing some navigation items here. Apart from that, the things, normal tags like ul, li, these you already know, these things we can write. Inside that, what we know is that, okay, so firstly let me show you how not to do it, and then we'll show you how to do it. In React Router we don't do like that, but in normal HTML, how do we create links? If let's say, so right now if I save, nothing will, everything is gone because just an li element, right? But in order to create a link in normal HTML, we use a tag, isn't it? And then there we write something like this, home, and let's say what is href? Href is equal to slash. Okay, this is how we create. So this link will be created. Okay, and now let's say if you are at a different route, let's say here, and you want to go to home, then you click and then you go to home page. So this works, isn't it? But there is a problem. User, there is a problem. You see that when I click, then this whole page will be refreshed. You pay attention that this refresh icon will slightly change slightly, and you can see that this whole page is refreshed, whole page is reloaded. Okay, that is how multi-page applications work. This is single page application, and that's why there is a better way, there is a smoother way to do it. And for that, React Router itself has provided us some way of doing that. So we are going to import something from this React Router DOM, and what we are going to import is something called link. Now this link tag is this link element, link component, which will be used to create link elements. This component is used almost like a tag, right? But there is a slight difference. In fact, wherever a is there, you can remove and place link. The only difference is that sometimes, so let's see, just give me a moment, some annotation issues were there. Anyways, sometimes what happens that okay, we don't want this refresh thing. In fact, in single page applications you should never write a tag, because that will unnecessarily refresh the page. Okay, now this link tag will be almost same, but there will be a small difference. Instead of href, you have to use 2. Other than that, everything is same. So right now you can see that if I am on user page and I click home, then you can see that there is no refreshing of the whole page. So there is no refreshing of the whole page, it is very much smooth. So that is what we want. And then why to just create slash? Let's create slash user also, isn't it? So there is a user link and there is a home link, and now we can navigate among this user page and home page. Okay, now just this slight thing that we want horizontal alignment rather than this vertical alignment. We don't want this sort of bullets, or so let's do some adjustment in CSS. So corresponding to this header component, we have a CSS there. Let's write in ULLI, I don't want any list style, so list style is none. Then you see that those bullets will go. Apart from that, I want horizontal alignment, so inside UL I can say that display, let's say flex. So this horizontal is, but there should be some gap. So for display flex items, there is a property called gap, and there you can write, let's say 15 pixel gap should be there between the flex items. So there is a gap. Okay, and there is some gap here. What is that? Just write a border and let's see that what is that. So border, let's say 1 pixel solid red. Then you will see that this is already there, and this is because all the UL elements, all the list elements by default have that padding sort of thing. So if you want, you can remove them altogether. So let's say whole padding, just for now let's remove the padding left. Okay, So padding left is 0, let's say. Then you will see that that gap is gone. However, we want some padding, so let's keep a 10 pixel padding, and let's remove the border now, because now we have seen what is happening. Okay, so yeah, these links we have got, let's keep it 5, not x, pixel, okay, px. Okay, anyways, now we have got this two links working. Some more customization can be done. I don't want this underscore thing or something, so what I can do is that in the UL, whenever a element is there, I want to have no text decoration is none, and then this will mean that there is no underline. Okay, and apart from that, what is happening that any page which is already visited, so this end user we have already seen, and that's why that page is slightly different color, because visited pages by default have different color. If you have any page which is not visited, so let anything, so let's say slash, I don't know, xyz, any xyz, any gibberish which you have not visited, you will see its color is different. We don't want that, we want all colors to be same. So what we can write that inside, for a elements we can write a separate color also. So let's say I particularly give my color to be blue. Okay, and then you can see that the color is same everywhere. Now let's remove this third link, it's not needed now. But anyways, now you can see that we are pretty much in shape, that we are at home page. Now we are at this user page, and we are at home page back. So the basic routing is working, right? Now by this time you might think that okay, there is a single page application, now it has become multiple page applications, but that is where the trick is. This React router does all the trick. If in fact if you want to see that trick, then what you can do is that inside index where we did browser router, there is another component which is hash router. Okay, instead of browser router you could use hash router also, hash router. Okay, and you will see what is the difference. See, when I am at home, okay, so when I am at home, then you can see that this thing is happening. When I'm at user, then you can see that this something like this is there, like slash hash and then user, right? And if you click here, then you can see that something like this is happening. And this, what is this? This hash is HTML fragments, which we have already learned in HTML, right? Which means that generally it is used for going somewhere in some section of the page. So essentially anything which is after hash, that is not a separate route, like that before hash whatever is there, that is only the separate route. And this proves the point that wherever you are going, in fact that whole thing is one same page only. What is that same page? The same page is whatever is before hash, and that is localhost 3000, which means that the whole application, even if it looks like there are multiple pages, there is just one page. And what is that page? That page is whatever we gave it initially. You can see that any page you go, you see the source, the same thing. It's just that React router will automatically change. Inside this React is there, and inside that React router is also there, so they will automatically change the contents based on what you want. Okay, so just to show you that, and here also that thing will work. So slash user, this thing will also work. But apart from that, you can understand that is somewhat a trick being done by React router. And in fact nobody wants this sort of routes. Okay, so for simplicity, it's better to use directly this browser router. I just shown you that because right now when multiple pages are working in this fashion, then you should not understand that no, this is not a single page application. React in this setup is creating a single page application, and it is a single page application. It's just that sort of routes are a sort of a it's like a thing which React router takes care to give you an illusion of multiple pages, even though it is just a single page. So that we can leave it at that. Okay, so and there are some other types of routers also. So there is something called static router. I think this thing is available in slash server. So static router. So you can understand, so there are many types of routers, but this static router is used in case of SSR, server side rendering, which you saw earlier, right? But server side rendering, we have not created our own setup or something that is somewhat advanced, and which we'll learn in some maybe a later course. But right now you can understand that browser router will be sufficient for almost all our applications for now. Okay, so there is no need of server thing. Browser router is available everywhere. So yeah, so we'll start from here. So clearly this is the basic setup with which we are ready. Okay, now let me tell you one more thing. In some earlier versions, where in the on the web, if somewhere you see this code, then you see, so somewhere when switch element is there, then somewhere you will see, so switch is like outdated, which I just told you, right? But there, when somebody is using routes, then you will see somewhere syntax like this, that path is there, and then element they are not using, they are using some component. And apart from component, even if you don't use component, they have something like this syntax, where where inside routes you can write this sort of thing, that you cannot do now. Okay, inside route component you cannot write another elements. Inside routes, only route, other routes can be there, which we will take an example. Or if nothing is there, then that should be self closed. Okay, so this you should not do. In fact, you cannot do in this version. Just I wanted to show you that this sort of code, if you see, that is an outdated version, and you should see the documentation, or you can come visit this video, and you can change the code appropriately. So yeah, so that is fine. Now let's see one thing. Let's say apart from this normal user page, what if we want to have something like this user and some ID is there? So let's say 1 2 3 whatever, some ID is there. Okay, and then right now you can see that nothing is rendered, because corresponding to this route nothing is defined. Okay, so what we have is that for that we can have something like route params, which are something like this. You can use user slash, and you can give a name, so colon ID, let's say. And then when you do something like this, then what it does is that it sees that user and slash, and then colon ID. Colon ID means whatever is after this user slash, everything I will consider it as a parameter, and I will pass that as a parameter with name ID. So ID, you can understand, is a variable in which this 1 2 3 is assigned, and that will be available inside this component. Okay, so right now you can see that inside this user component, if I go, then let's go inside this user component, then I'm just printing this is user, this is user. But what if I want to show that what is what is the in URL, what is passed? For that we can use something called use params. Okay, so there is a hook where you can hook you can import it from React Router DOM only. So from React Router DOM, we are going to import a hook called use params. Okay, this use params will give you the params. So let's see, params is equal to use params, and let's simply print it for simplicity, that what is there inside this. So let's print this params, and you will see that ID 1 2 3. So you can clearly see that whatever is passes, so 1 2 3, 1 2 only I pass, then ID 1 2, whatever you pass here. And why that is only after this? Because that is how we defined it, right? We defined it that after user slash, whatever is there, that and that name, why that name is ID? That name is ID because we said that it name should be ID. If I pass name, okay, then you can see that the object is coming with name data. Okay, the key value is name. Let's keep it as at ID only, and what we will do is that we will take this ID and then we'll use that somewhere. So let's simply print that thing. So params.id. Okay, and then you can clearly see that 12, then this 12 is coming, right? Whatever, anything, it can be like name also, right? Whatever is coming after this, that thing is coming here, okay? And rather than doing this as a separate variable, we can do simple destructuring also, we know that, right? So I just did that longer thing for explanation, but we can straight away destructure id and straight away use that also. So anything, whatever we write, that works, okay? So that is fine, but again we are like writing it in URL, okay? So can't we create some links? So let's create some links. So in the header component, let's go there and let's write something like this is user1, and let's duplicate it and write user2. And now you can see that this is home page. If I go here, then it is user1. If I go here, then this is user2. Okay, so these routes are working fine. And again, you can write anything like we saw just now that we could use any sort of thing. So /Alex also will work, right? But the main thing is that if we are navigating it like here, what if we go somewhere which page does not exist? So anything, let's say some random thing which we are writing, then what is happening? It is saying that no match location. So what if that we want to have some sort of default page, okay, some sort of a default page. So that we can do something like this, that route, okay, and then after that we are going to have, let's keep it self closed, and then we are going to say that path is equal to star, which means that anything which is not matching all these, okay, we are giving it an element, and that element we can create a separate component and create that element. Let's create that called not found. So not found .js, and there let's copy it from here only, okay, and then this will be a not found page, okay, and then we'll say that simply that this page is not found, and then we can use this here, components / not found, and then that element we can use here. Now you will see that if something which is not matching all these, right, then and one more thing, this React router version 6 is much more intelligent. Actually, before that what used to happen, the top two bottom matches used to happen, and whenever the first match happened, then you have to then that will be matched. Here like that ordering is gone, which means that even if you write it at the top, then also you can see that this is saying page not found, okay. And what is happening actually, that whatever route you write, React will not take into consideration the ordering. React will take into consideration what you intend to do. So it will see that you have already defined /user, you have already defined /user / something, okay. So it's like /user /123, okay. Then even if /star means everything star means wildcard, everything should match, right? So even if the first one also should match this, but it will not render this not found, it will go and look at other routes also, that if some other better match is there, and then there it can see that yeah, this thing is a better match, I think you want this. So it will render, you can see that component, this user component, even if it matched earlier. So that's why I wanted to say that this ordering does not matter from React Router version 6 onwards, which is a good thing. So it removes a lot of confusion, especially to the beginners. So earlier, like there was some ordered thing, and then which means that earlier it was something like that let's say you are writing even /user, and why this /user is page not found, because we have not said anything about /user, okay. We have just said that /user / something, okay. So for slash user, we can create a separate page. Okay, we can do the same also, but let's create a separate page which is like a user home or something. Okay, because slash user slash one is working, but slash user, for that we need a separate route called something like simply slash user. Okay, and we can keep the same thing also, and in this case you can see that this is working. But this page, let's reserve it for user 1, user 2, that numbering thing. If simple user is there, then let's here is essentially nothing is there, which means undefined is there, and this is user, and then undefined they are trying to print, and then undefined will not be printed in React, and that's why nothing is visible. But let's keep a separate component called let's say user home. Okay, .js, and it will be almost like this only, with some simplification, that we don't use something like this. We can simply say that this is like simple user home page. Okay, so yeah, and then in app we have to use that what was the name, user hyphen home. Okay, and then user home component, let's take that, and then we can use that here instead of normal user component. And then we can see that this user component, if slash user, then this user home, but if you user 1 or user 2, then that other page is coming. Okay, but earlier what used to happen is that we have to write something like exact or something. This is like not needed in React, not needed in not allowed in React router version 6. But earlier it was complicated, that the matching will be done from top to bottom, and even slash will match slash user will match slash user slash 2, because it was like prefix based, and if you exactly wanted a exact match, then exactly you have to write. Now they have, React router will have an internal algorithm which will decide that irrespective of where you have written what, does not matter, every time it will work out of the box in a way which is intended by the user. Okay, so you can see that doesn't matter how you write, it will work exactly whatever was expected. So that's a big improvement in, I believe, React Router 6. Okay, so that is fine. Now we know that we are able to do something like this, right? But still there is a problem, right? Let's say there are multiple like 5 more routes, and everything is starting with user, then aren't we everywhere we are like repeating this user thing, right? So there is a way in which we can avoid that. Okay, so what we can do is that instead of writing it multiple times like this, what we can do is that we can do something like this. We can create, and we don't need to give element here. Okay, and rather than a self closed, it is now a proper element with children, and inside that we can copy and paste this. But this user thing doesn't need to be repeated, which means that we can simply remove this user. Automatically this user prefix will be added. Okay, so this thing will work exactly. So now you don't need to worry about typo, or like at 5 places you wrote user, and if you change user to users, then everywhere you have to change. Right now at one place is there, and here if you change users to users, then all the routes are changed. So essentially this thing is like only user, this thing is like user slash something. So you can see, clearly see here that only user, this is also working, user 1, user 2, this is also working exactly like before. Just the difference is that we are able to isolate all the prefixes at one place. Okay, one more thing, this path is equal to, if you don't write equal to, then it will not work. So you can see that user 1, user 2 is working, but if you simply write this thing, then you can see that the slash user route is not there. So path is equal to empty string is needed, or there is another shortcut, you can simply write index, which is like saying that in whatever prefix I have wrapped this around, this thing is index, which means that nothing is there after that. Okay, so that thing will also work. So you can see that this thing is also working fine like expected. In the earlier versions before React router version 6 in 5 or before, this path thing was not compulsory, right, for the last element, right, which means that if nothing is matched, then whatever is the default one, that will be like matched. But again, that was earlier version. There, like from top to down matching was there, right? Now like this thing is necessary because now they have their own algorithm to match, and then this you can write anywhere. Even if you write it at the top or something, then also it will match something which is not matched by other routes. So that sort of their internal resolution algorithm, right? So anyways, let's keep it at that. So yeah, so I believe this thing is a good start. There are some more complicated concepts like nested routing or something, but some a little bit of nested routing we have seen right now, but we'll explore in more detail about nested routing in the next video.